Sarah Miller had always known she was different. Born into the Red Ridge Pack 22 years ago, she was the daughter of two fierce warriors who had given their lives in the Great War against rogue shifters a decade earlier. The Pack, nestled in the rugged mountains of the Northern Territories, was a tight-knit community where strength was measured by the ferocity of one's wolf and the keenness of one's senses. But Sarah? She had no wolf. No inner beast to call upon during the full moon runs, no heightened scent to detect danger from miles away. She was human in a world of supernaturals, a quiet anomaly raised out of pity and loyalty to her parents' memory. From a young age, Sarah had carved out a place for herself through sheer determination and unwavering service. She worked in the Pack kitchens, preparing hearty stews and fresh breads that fueled the warriors after long patrols. She tended to the wounded, her gentle hands applying salves and bandages with a precision that even the Pack healers admired. And perhaps most importantly, she had helped raise Gavin's younger sister, Lila, after their mother passed from a mysterious illness. Gavin, the Pack's rising star, had been her childhood companion, playful hunts in the woods, where she lagged behind but never complained, shared secrets under the stars, and promises of a future where differences didn't matter. But as Gavin approached his 25th birthday and presented as the alpha heir, everything changed. The Pack elders, a council of grizzled wolves with scars from battles long past, began whispering about purity and strength. Gavin's wolf was powerful, a sleek gray beast with eyes like storm clouds, but Sarah remained unchanged. No shift, no scent to mark her as one of them. In a society where mates were chosen based on compatibility and power, Sarah became a liability. Gavin, under pressure from the elders and influenced by Tanya's sharp-tongued beta with ambitions of her own, started to distance himself. Tanya had always eyed Gavin with hunger, her wolf a lithe red-furred predator that matched his in ferocity. She spread rumors in the Pack house, her voice dripping with false sympathy. Poor Sarah, stuck in her human skin. How can she stand by an alpha? She'd weaken the bloodline. The elders nodded in agreement, citing ancient Pack laws that demanded the alpha's mate be of equal strength to ensure the Pack's survival against threats from rival territories, like the ever-encroaching Western Pacts. Sarah felt the shift in the air, the way eyes averted when she passed, the murmurs that hushed as she entered rooms. She threw herself deeper into her duties, hoping loyalty would outweigh her defect. But on a fateful night, under a sky heavy with storm clouds, her world shattered. It started with a summons to the Alpha's den. Gavin stood there, broad-shouldered and imposing, his dark hair tousled as if he'd been pacing. Tanya lounged against the wall, her arms crossed, a smug curl to her lips. The elders flanked them, their faces etched with solemnity. "Sarah," Gavin began, his voice rough, avoiding her eyes. "You've served the Pack well. But, things have changed." Her heart plummeted. "Gavin, please. I've given everything. If it's about me not shifting." "It's about the Pack," one elder interrupted, his voice gravelly. "An alpha cannot afford weaknesses. The Western Pacts are sniffing at our borders. If word gets out that our heir consorts with a human, it could invite challenges." "I'm not a weakness," Sarah protested, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "I've raised your sister, healed your warriors. Let me leave quietly for the human lands. I won't cause trouble." Gavin's jaw tightened, a flicker of something regret, crossing his features. But Tanya stepped forward, her eyes gleaming. "Leave? And spread our secrets? No, Sarah. You're a burden we've carried too long." The elders murmured agreement, quoting laws about purging defects to maintain purity. Sarah's pleas fell on deaf ears. Before she could react, enforcers burly wolves loyal to Gavin seized her arms, dragging her out into the biting wind. They marched her to Blackwood Cliff, a sheer drop overlooking the treacherous Iron River. The wind howled like a banshee, whipping Sarah's long brown hair across her face, stinging her skin. The river below churned violently, its waters black and unforgiving, swollen from recent rains. Legend spoke of it as a boundary between life and death, where the weak were cast to fate. Gavin approached, his face a mask of cold resolve. "This is mercy, Sarah. Better the cliff than the enforcer's claws." Tears froze on her cheeks as she struggled against the iron grips. "Gavin, we were friends. I loved you like family. Don't do this." He flinched, but Tanya's hand on his arm steadied him. "She's right, Alpha. End it." With a dismissive shove, Gavin pushed her toward the edge. Sarah's feet scrambled on the loose gravel, her cries lost in the gale. "Please. I'll disappear." But his eyes hardened. "You already have." And with a final, bruising grab on her arm, he hurled her over. The world spun in a dizzying blur. Air rushed past her, cold and merciless, as she plummeted. Time stretched memories flashing, her parents' proud smiles before the war, Lila's first steps under her watchful eye, Gavin's laughter from simpler days. Then impact. The river hit like 1,000 knives, stealing her breath, the icy water invading her lungs. She gasped, flailing, but the current was a monster, pulling her under. Darkness pressed in, bubbles escaping her mouth as she kicked futilely. Her human strength was no match for the rapids. Lungs burning, she thought, "This is it. Gavin wins." But a spark of anger ignited refusal to die for his cowardice. She broke the surface once, gulping air, before slamming into a jagged log. Pain exploded in her shoulder, but she clung to it desperately, the wood her fragile lifeline. The river carried her downstream, away from Red Ridge, into the forbidden Obsidian lands. Territory of the Alpha King Roman Blackwood, a name whispered in fear. He was said to slaughter trespassers without mercy, his pack a shadow empire built on blood and dominance. As hypothermia set in, Sarah's vision blurred, the pines along the banks merging into a green haze. Her last coherent thought, "If I survive, they'll pay." Sarah's early life was one of quiet resilience. Orphaned at 12, she was taken in by the pack's communal house, where she learned to navigate the hierarchies of wolf society. She observed the shifts, the way bodies contorted under the moon, fur sprouting, howls echoing. Envy gnawed at her, but she channeled it into usefulness. Cooking became her art, venison roast spiced with wild herbs, berry pies that brought smiles to even the sternest faces. Healing was her calling, she studied herbs from old tomes, mixing poultices that mended gashes faster than nature alone. Gavin had been her anchor. As teens, they shared stolen moments by the river, the same river now trying to claim her. He'd promised protection, but power corrupted. Tanya's influence was insidious, her jealousy rooting from Sarah's closeness to Gavin. The beta had orchestrated whispers, turning opinion against her. The cliff scene replayed in her mind as she drifted, the storm's fury mirroring the pack's betrayal. Wind screamed accusations, rain mixed with her tears. Gavin's shove was casual, as if discarding trash. The fall was eternal, seconds feeling like hours, body weightless then crushed. The river's embrace was cruel irony. Water that could cleanse wounds now sought to drown her. Currents twisted her like a rag doll, rocks bruising her sides. Her survival instinct, forged in years of marginalization, roared. Not like this, she willed, fingers numb on the log. Visions haunted her, parents' graves in the Pack cemetery, overgrown with forget-me-nots, Lila's innocent face, wondering where Aunt Sarah went. Hypothermia whispered surrender, but anger fueled her. The Obsidian Lands approached, legends vivid, Roman Blackwood, the widower king, his wolf a nightmare incarnate, raising villages for minor slights. His pack thrived on fear, borders patrolled by elite guards. Yet, fate's current bore her there a human speck in a beastly realm. As consciousness faded, she whispered a vow, I'll rise. The river widened as it snaked into the Obsidian Lands, its furious pace slowing to a deceptive calm. Sarah's log bumped against a rocky bank lined with ancient pines, their needles whispering secrets to the wind. Her grip slipped, numb fingers failing, and she washed ashore onto wet pebbles, coughing up water in ragged heaves. Her body trembled violently, teeth chattering like castanets in the chill dawn air. Pain radiated from her shoulder, a dull throb that sharpened with every breath. She tried to crawl toward shelter, a cluster of boulders, but her legs refused, collapsing under her. Vision darkening, she heard a twig snap. Footsteps? Or hallucination? Darkness claimed her. She awoke to a wet, rough tongue licking her cheek. Groaning, she pushed weakly at the sensation, eyes fluttering open to dappled sunlight filtering through the canopy. She lay on soft grass, not the harsh Stonisa small mercy. Hovering over her was a large pup, the size of a full-grown dog, its fur as black as midnight, eyes gleaming like molten gold. It whined softly, backing away a step but watching her with unnerving intelligence. Did you drag me here?" Sarah rasped, her throat raw from swallowed water. She sat up slowly, wincing at the pull in her shoulder. Her dress was torn, stiff with mud and blood. The pup tilted its head, as if understanding, but made no move to flee. The air shimmered around it, a haze of magic that made Sarah's skin prickle. Bones cracked and popped, fur retracting into smooth skin. In moments, a small boy stood before her, no more than 5 or 6 years old, with messy black hair and those same golden eyes. He wore torn shorts, his expression blank, almost wary. "Hi," Sarah said softly, keeping her voice calm despite her pounding heart. "I'm Sarah. Thank you for helping me." The boy pointed to the trees, silent. "Are your parents nearby?" Panic flickered. If this was Obsidian territory, adult wolves could mean death. He shook his head, then reached out tentatively, touching her bruised arm with surprising gentleness. Warmth spread from his small hand, easing the ache a fraction. A roar shattered the forest peace, a sound of pure rage that vibrated the ground, sending birds scattering in panic. The boy's eyes widened, and he grabbed Sarah's hand, trying to pull her up. But her ankle twisted painfully, buckling under her weight. Bushes exploded as a massive black wolf burst through, towering like a horse, its fur absorbing light like a void. An aura of suffocating power rolled off it, making Sarah's human instincts scream to flee. The wolf alpha king Roman Blackwood, she knew instinctively, crouched low, ready to spring, fangs like daggers glinting in the light. Sarah screamed, shielding her face with her free arm. But the boy stepped between them, tiny arms spread wide, a fierce little guardian. The wolf snapped its jaws inches from the boy's face, but froze. A deep growl rumbled, eyes flickering from crimson to gold. The boy stomped his foot, pointed at Sarah, then patted his own chest emphatically. "Mine," he seemed to say without words. The wolf huffed in frustration, the oppressive pressure lessening slightly. It cast a disdainful glance at Sarah before stepping back. The shift was violent, bones realigning with cracks that echoed like thunder. In its place stood a man, over 6 feet tall, scarred and shirtless, muscles rippling under tanned skin. Long dark hair framed a brutally handsome face, eyes like cold flint. "You," he growled, voice like gravel over steel. "Give me one reason not to gut you, human trespasser." Sarah swallowed hard, her mind racing. I didn't mean to trespass. The river brought me here. I was thrown in upstream." Roman sneered, nostrils flaring as he scented the air. "The river doesn't deliver trash without my allowance." The boy let out a tiny, high-pitched growl, stopping Roman short. The alpha's expression softened a fraction, an odd sight on such a fierce man. "Toby, step aside. She reeks of Red Ridge, likely a spy." Toby shook his head vigorously, squeezing Sarah's hand tighter, his golden eyes pleading up at his father. Roman looked exhausted, rubbing a hand over his face. He hasn't interacted like this in 2 years. Now he's growling for a stray human? Toby nodded emphatically. Roman assessed Sarah with a piercing gaze. "Fine. He likes you, gods know why. He's never touched anyone since his mother died." Sarah's heart ached at that. "He saved me. Dragged me from the rocks." Roman snorted. "Bought you time, maybe. But you can't even walk." He glanced at her swollen ankle. With an irritated sigh, he scooped her up like she weighed nothing, ignoring her startled yelp. "If you're a spy or if you hurt him, I'll make you wish for that river again." "I'm not a spy," she said firmly, despite the fear. "I'm nobody." "We'll see." He looked down at Toby. "Come on, pup." Toby trotted alongside, a small smile breaking through his stoic facade as he glanced up at Sarah. The journey through the forest was silent, save for the crunch of leaves under Roman's boots. The estate emerged like a fortress from legend, black stone walls interwoven with modern glass, perched on a mountain overlook, commanding views of misty valleys below. Beautiful yet intimidating, it screamed isolation and power. "Welcome to the heart of the Obsidian Pack," Roman muttered. "Don't get comfortable. You have 3 days to prove you're not a threat." He carried her to a luxurious guest room in the east wing, a massive bed like a cloud, a deep tub, windows framing the forest. The door locked behind him with a click. A healer named Martha arrived shortly, kind-eyed but tight-lipped, binding her ankle, treating bruises, and bringing steaming stews and fresh bread. She refused questions about the boy, Roman, or Sarah's status, prisoner or guest. On the 4th morning, Roman entered unannounced, sleeves rolled up to reveal scarred forearms. "Healed enough?" "Mostly," Sarah replied, meeting his gaze. "Thank you for the care." "Don't thank me. Thank Toby's been sitting outside your door for 3 days, refusing to eat or sleep unless I assured him you were safe." Sarah's eyes widened. "Can I see him?" Roman narrowed his eyes. "Why do you care?" "Most humans are terrified of us wolves." "I grew up in a pack," she said softly. "I know cruelty when I see it and kindness." "Toby looks lonely." Roman flinched at lonely, then sniffed the air around her. "You have no scent. Unsettling, like a ghost. Born without a wolf. That's why they threw me off the cliff, useless waste." Roman stilled, his eyes darkening. "Gavin threw you? That spineless pup?" She nodded. "He did." "Coward," Roman growled, his eyes flashing gold. A true alpha doesn't harm those under his protection. Sarah held her tongue, sensing the storm within him. "Toby's waiting," he said abruptly, opening the door. The encounter with Toby marked a profound shift. The pup's intervention defied all pack norms children rarely asserted against alphas, yet his instinct chose Sarah. Toby's silence stemmed from deep trauma, his mother's death leaving scars no healer could mend. Roman's arrival was a torrent of terror, his reputation as a merciless ruler vivid in tales Sarah had heard, villages burned, rivals eviscerated. Yet, in that standoff, she glimpsed his conflict-feral protectiveness for his son clashing with wary curiosity about her. Sarah's composure amid fear subtly impressed him, her human vulnerability a stark contrast to the wolf's brute power. As they walked to the garden where Toby waited, Sarah felt a spark of hope in this dark new world. Toby's face lit up like the sun breaking through clouds when he saw Sarah. He ran to her, wrapping small arms around her waist in a fierce hug. She laughed warmly, kneeling despite the twinge in her ankle. "Hey, little one. Thank you for watching over me." Roman watched, confusion etching his features. "He likes you. He hates everyone but the last nanny so hard she fled the territory. Maybe he just needs someone to listen," Sarah said softly, ruffling Toby's hair. The boy nodded, his golden eyes shining. Roman's voice hardened. "He doesn't speak. Hasn't since the fire took his mother. He screams in his sleep sometimes, but no words." Sarah's heart twisted. She knelt to Toby's level. "That's okay. We don't always need words to understand each other, do we?" Toby shook his head, a genuine smile breaking through. Roman cleared his throat abruptly. "You can stay. Gavin thinks you're dead. The human lands have nothing for you anyway. Be a companion for Toby. A nanny, of sorts. I'd work for you." Sarah asked, surprised. "My son has stopped sleeping in the hallway. That's payment enough. You'll have pay, protection. But rules, no leaving the grounds without permission, no contact with outsiders, and never enter the West Wing. That's my territory." "I understand," Sarah said, standing tall. Martha appeared then, her schedule in hand. "Come on, dear. Let's get you settled. And don't regret this. It's not an easy house." The weeks blurred into a month, and the estate transformed from a tomb of silence to a place alive with subtle warmth. Lavender scents wafted from freshly cleaned linens, footsteps echoed in halls once empty, and even the occasional child's laughter pierced the air. Sarah worked miracles with Toby. In the vast library, she taught him to read simple stories, her voice animated as she pointed to pictures of dragons and knights. In the kitchens, she baked cookies much to the cook's initial horror, then delight golden treats dotted with chocolate that Toby devoured with glee. She convinced him to shift into his pup form for games in the garden, chasing balls through manicured lawns, her laughter ringing as the black fur ball bounded after her. Roman observed from his office window, meetings with betas forgotten as he watched. Sarah's hair flew in the wind, her simple dresses practical yet graceful, her interactions with Toby stirring something long dormant in him. His beta, Silasa loyal, silver-haired wolf with a scar across his eye noted it one evening. "She's good for the boy, Roman. But temporary, right?" Roman grunted, staring out. "She'll leave once he's stable. Humans don't belong in our world." Silas chuckled. "She doesn't act like a typical human. Looks like she's found a home here." Roman remained silent, but her presence calmed his inner wolf's constant rage. Nights that once drowned in whiskey now held a fragile peace. That peace shattered one stormy night. Thunder boomed like artillery, lightning strobing the skies. Sarah tucked a trembling Toby into bed, telling stories of brave humans who tamed beasts. "The sky's just grumbling because it's hungry," she whispered. "But this house is strong." He clutched her hand, finally drifting off. As she headed to her room, the storm unnerved her, flashbacks to the river's roar. Then, a scream echoed from the west wing, raw agony, followed by shattering glass. Against every rule, she ran toward it, heart pounding. The hall was dark, ozone and distressed pheromones thick in the air, tasting like copper on her tongue. The master suite door was ajar. Inside, devastation, furniture splintered, curtains torn. Roman knelt shirtless in the center, claws extended, raking his own chest. "Get out. Don't take her, take me instead." He hallucinated, lost in grief. Sarah whispered his name. He snarled, eyes crimson with feral rage, lunging to pin her against the wall, hand at her throat. "Intruder. Roman, it's Sarah. Toby's friend. You're safe." Shock flickered, he sniffed lavender and rain, her unique lack of scent grounding him. "Sarah," he rasped, wolf receding. He released her, stumbling back. "Get out. Never come here again." "You're hurting yourself," she said, grabbing a wet towel from the en-suite. "Sit. Let me clean those scratches." He growled but sat, broken. "I could have killed you. But you didn't." She worked gently, the wound over his heart deep but healing fast due to his alpha regeneration. "Why did you run toward the scream?" he asked, voice low. "Because everyone runs away when someone needs them most. I won't let you drown in this room alone." As she cleaned, he spoke haltingly of his wife Ilera, lost in a fire set by rivals 3 years ago. Storms triggered memories of her screams. Sarah's heart broke, she rested a hand on his skin. "You're not alone anymore." He covered her hand with his, electricity sparking, terrifying yet undeniable. Acceptance into the estate peeled back layers of pain. Roman's grief was a chasm, Toby's mutism a wall built from loss. The estate's isolation reflected their wounds, grand halls empty, gardens overgrown. Sarah's tentative integration sparked empathy from Roman, her backstory mirroring his own betrayals. The truce between Sarah and Roman was fragile, charged with unspoken tension. He became more present, joining dinners where Toby's eyes lit up at the family-like scene. Roman's gaze on Sarah prickled her skin, intense and unyielding. 2 weeks after the storm incident, Silas entered Roman's office with a grave expression, holding an ornate invitation. "The Winter Solstice Gala. The council insists you haven't attended in years, and rumors of weakness are spreading." Roman snarled. "I don't parade for sycophants and liars." Silas pressed. "Red Ridge will be there. Gavin's boasting about territory expansions says he's solidified his rule." Sarah, overhearing as she passed with Toby, dropped a fork, paling. "Gavin, with his new Luna?" Roman's eyes darkened. "I'm not going. And neither is she." But Silas argued the sanctions, the tradition, the Alpha King must bring a date to show strength. Roman's gaze locked on Sarah. "Fine. She comes with me." She protested. "Gavin thinks I'm dead. If he sees me, he'll demand me back or kill me to silence secrets." "Let him try," Roman said, eyes dangerous. "You're under my protection. I want to see the look on that trash's face when he sees what he threw away, now at the king's right hand. I have no wolf, no rank. They'll eat me alive. It's a masquerade, Roman countered. Wear a mask. You're not a nanny tonight, you're my guest. The night arrived. Martha dressed Sarah in midnight blue silk, strapless and flowing, accentuating her curves. A silver mask covered her upper face, transforming her into mystery. In the mirror, she saw a stranger empowered, secrets veiled. Roman knocked, then stopped short, his tux tailored to perfection, making him look like a dark prince. He circled her, tension crackling. Adequate. High praise, she teased, heart racing. He adjusted a strap, fingers lingering on her skin. Stay by my side. If anyone touches you, I'll remove their hand. If they insult you, their tongue. Yes, Alpha. She took his offered arm. Let's not start a war. Too late for that. The gala was in a grand hall under a glass dome, filled with alphas, betas, and lunas in finery. Champagne flowed, perfumes masking underlying predator scents. Roman's entrance silenced the room, music halting. Whispers erupted, the king with a scentless doll. Is she his mate? Breathe, Roman murmured. You're with the most powerful here. They danced a waltz, his hand possessive on her waist, the world blurring into heat and rhythm. You're doing well. I'm terrified, she admitted. Gavin's laugh cut through arrogant, with Tanya in a red dress dripping diamonds. He spotted them, squinting. Instinct recognized Sarah despite the mask. He approached, smirking. The Hermit King graces us with his presence. And who's this? No pack sent nothing. A doll you bought? Roman caught Gavin's reaching wrist. Touch her, and lose the arm. The room tensed. Gavin grimaced. A human pet? Why parade weakness? Not a pet, Roman said calmly. My companion, who saved my son. Worth 10 of you. Tanya gasped, spotting a scar on Sarah's wrist. Sarah? The mask fell in the scuffle. Hello, Alpha, Sarah said coolly. Surprised to see me dry? Shock rippled. You should be dead. I watched you fall into the Iron River in winter. I did. But I found a pack that doesn't throw away family. Gavin raged. You belong to Red Ridge, my property. I'll execute you for treason. Roman smiled coldly. You forfeited her when you pushed. The river takes what it will and she belongs to me now. She's a servant who knows secrets. I demand her return to finish what I started. Try it, Roman challenged. She's here now. Gavin hissed, storming off with his pack. The atmosphere shifted awe and fear toward Sarah. Let's go, Roman said. It stinks of cowardice here. Life in the estate deepened bonds, revealing vulnerabilities. Sarah's compassion bridged Roman's grief, transforming isolation into connection. The drive back was silent, Sarah shaking from adrenaline. At the estate, Roman escorted her to her room. You were brave tonight. I was terrified, she admitted. Gavin won't stop. He's paranoid about those secrets. Let him come, Roman said, locking the door behind them. Tension snapped like a bowstring. He called you property. I wanted to tear out his throat. I'm just a Nanya human. Stop saying that. He cupped her cheek. You're the only thing that's made this silence bearable. Toby trusts you like a mother. And tonight, you looked like a queen. His words hung heavy. Roman. I'm tired of pretending I don't want you. He kissed her, hungry, desperate, possessive. Tasting of champagne and danger, his hands tangled in her hair, pulling her closer. The world narrowed to them, heat building like a storm. He lifted her onto the dresser, hands roaming. Mine, he growled. She forgot dangers, lost in him only Roman mattered. Sirens blared the pack alarm. Roman cursed, eyes flashing gold. Gavin followed. Mercenaries and rogues attacking. He grabbed her shoulders. Get Toby to the panic room in the cellar. Don't come out until I open it. What about you? She whispered. He kissed her hard. I'll kill them all. Sarah sprinted, heels discarded, to Toby's room. He was awake, fearful. It's hide-and-seek time. To the cellar. Corridors echoed with battle, snarls, gunshots, clashing metal. They reached the steel door, she shoved Toby in. A shadow grabbed her hair, yanking her back. She screamed, falling. Gavin, mud-covered, held a tranquilizer gun. He bypassed the main fight. Think you can live after humiliating me? You know too much. Toby screamed silently from the door, running out. Toby, stay. Gavin stomped her leg, pain exploded. Goodbye. No river this time. He raised a pistol. A small black blur Toby as pulpit Gavin's calf. Gavin kicked him flying, Toby thudded, unmoving. No. Maternal rage surged. Sarah grabbed a silver letter opener, jamming it into Gavin's thigh. He roared, dropping the gun, backhanding her. He loomed, murderous. The wall exploded. Roman's massive wolf form, eyes insane. Seeing Sarah bleeding, Toby unconscious, he unleashed hell. Jaws clamped on Gavin's shoulder, slamming him, snapping bones, tearing flesh. Sarah cried, Toby needs help. Roman froze, dropping the mangled Gavin. Shifting back, blood-soaked, he knelt. Toby. The boy shimmered to human, groaning. Mama. His first word in years. Roman froze, tears mixing with blood. He spoke, called you Mama. I'm here, Sarah sobbed, arms around them both. The deepening relationship exposed raw emotions, the gala invitation catalyzing conflict and unity. The journey back from the winter solstice gala was shrouded in tense silence. Snowflakes danced in the headlights of the armored convoy as it wound up the mountain roads toward the Obsidian estate. Sarah sat beside Roman in the back of the lead vehicle, her hands clasped tightly in her lap to stop them from shaking. The midnight blue silk dress still clung to her skin, but the elegance of the evening felt like a distant memory now. Adrenaline coursed through her veins, making her heart thunder against her ribs. Gavin's face pale with shock, then twisted with rage as the mask fell kept replaying in her mind. Roman stared out the window, jaw clenched, golden eyes reflecting the passing lights like a predator barely leashed. The air inside the vehicle crackled with his barely contained fury. Every few moments his gaze flicked to her, assessing, protective. When they finally passed through the massive iron gates of the estate, he reached over and took her hand, his large palm engulfing hers completely. You were magnificent tonight, he said quietly, voice rough. Brave doesn't begin to cover it. I was terrified, Sarah admitted, her voice trembling despite her effort to steady it. The way he looked at me, he won't let this go, Roman. Gavin is paranoid. He thinks I know secrets that could ruin him, old alliances, shady deals with rogues. He'll come for me. Roman's grip tightened, not painfully, but possessively. Let him come. He'll learn what happens when someone threatens what's mine. The word mine sent a shiver down her spine that had nothing to do with fear. They entered the estate through the grand foyer, the massive chandelier casting warm light over black marble floors. Guards bowed as they passed, sensing the tension. Roman escorted her all the way to her bedroom door in the east wing. He paused there, one hand braced against the frame, crowding her space in a way that made her breath catch. "You should rest," he said, but his eyes said something entirely different. Sarah looked up at him, the remnants of the gala's glamour still on her hair loosely pinned, lips painted deep crimson. Roman. Whatever she'd been about to say was lost as he stepped closer, backing her gently against the door. The lock clicked behind them as he closed it without looking. The room was dimly lit by moonlight streaming through tall windows, the forest beyond a sea of shadows. "I've wanted to do this since the moment you walked down those stairs in that dress," he growled low in his throat. Then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was hungry, desperate, years of loneliness and restraint pouring out. His mouth claimed hers with possessive intensity, tasting of champagne and the wild danger that always clung to him. Sarah's hands fisted in his tuxedo jacket, pulling him closer even as her mind spun. His fingers tangled in her hair, tilting her head to deepen the kiss, and she melted against him, forgetting the gala, forgetting Gavin, forgetting everything but the heat building between them. He lifted her easily, hands sliding down to grip her thighs as he pressed her against the dresser. The wood was cool against her back, a sharp contrast to the fire of his body. Her dress rode up as he stepped between her legs, and she gasped into his mouth when she felt the hard evidence of his desire. "Tell me to stop," he rasped against her lips, voice strained with control. "Say it now, Sarah, or I won't be able to." She answered by pulling him closer, kissing him harder. "Don't stop." A guttural sound escaped him, half growl, half relief, and his hands were everywhere. The silk straps of her dress slipped down her shoulders under his insistent touch. He kissed along her jaw, down her throat, nipping at the sensitive spot where neck met shoulder. Sarah arched into him, fingers threading through his long dark hair, holding him there as sparks of pleasure shot through her. "Mine," he whispered against her skin, the word vibrating through her. "You've been mine since the river brought you to me." She couldn't form words, only soft sounds of need as he lifted her again, carrying her to the bed. The world narrowed to sensation, the slide of silk against skin, the weight of him above her, the way his scarred hands worshipped every inch he uncovered. They moved together with a rhythm that felt ancient, inevitable. Every touch, every kiss, every whispered claim erased the pain of the past months. For the first time since falling from that cliff, Sarah felt truly alive. They were lost in each other, bodies entwined, breaths mingling, when the estate's alarm sirens suddenly pierced the night. Roman froze above her, eyes flashing molten gold. A snarl ripped from his throat, not of pleasure, but pure lethal rage. He was off the bed in an instant, yanking on pants as red lights began flashing through the windows. "Attack," he bit out. "Stay here." "No," Sarah scrambled for clothes, heart hammering for an entirely different reason now. "Toby. I have to get to Toby." Roman's expression was terrifying, cold, focused, deadly. He grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to meet his gaze. "Get him to the panic room in the cellar. Steel door, biometric lock, me print or yours, I added it last week. Do not come out until I open it myself." Understand? She nodded, fear for the little boy overriding everything else. He kissed her once more hard, brief, full of promise. I'll end this tonight. Then he was gone, shifting mid-stride into the massive black wolf as he leaped through the shattered window, glass exploding outward. Sarah ran barefoot through the corridors, dress half-buttoned, hair wild. The estate was chaos, guards shouting orders, distant snarls and gunshots echoing from the outer walls. She burst into Toby's room to find him already awake, sitting up in bed with wide golden eyes, clutching his stuffed wolf. "It's okay, sweetheart," she said, forcing calm into her voice as she scooped him up. "We're playing the best game of hide-and-seek ever. We have to go to the special hiding place in the cellar." Toby nodded trustingly, burying his face in her neck. They raced down servant stairs to avoid the main halls. Explosions rocked the building. Someone was using heavy artillery. The air smelled of smoke and blood. They reached the reinforced steel door to the panic room. Sarah punched in the emergency code Roman had made her memorize, then pressed her thumb to the scanner. The door hissed open, revealing a fortified space with supplies, monitors, and a small bed. She ushered Toby inside, and that's when the shadow detached from the wall behind her. Pain exploded in her scalp as a brutal hand fisted her hair, yanking her backward. She screamed, dropping Toby instinctively to protect him. The boy scrambled behind her as she hit the stone floor hard. Gavin stood over her, covered in mud and blood, eyes wild with mania. He held a tranquilizer pistol in one hand, a silver dagger in the other. Somehow he'd slipped past the main defenses, likely using old rogue tunnels he'd once bragged about knowing. "You humiliating bitch," he spat. "Parading on the king's arm like you belong there? You're nothing. A scentless defect. And now you've cost me everything." Toby let out a silent scream, tiny fists clenched. "Stay back, Toby!" Sarah shouted, scrambling to her feet despite the pain. Gavin laughed coldly. "The mute pup too? How touching. Roman will find you both in pieces." He lunged. Sarah dodged, grabbing a decorative vase from a side table and smashing it against his arm. Ceramic shards flew. Gavin snarled, backhanding her so hard she saw stars, tasting blood. Toby darted forward, trying to help, but Gavin kicked him viciously. The boy flew across the hall, hitting the wall with a sickening thud and sliding down unmoving. "No!" The sound that tore from Sarah's throat was inhuman, pure maternal rage. She launched herself at Gavin, nails raking his face, knee driving toward his groin. He grunted in surprise, staggering. On the floor nearby lay a silver letter opener that had fallen from a desk during the chaos. Sarah dove for it, fingers closing around the handle just as Gavin raised his pistol point blank. "Goodbye, Sarah. No river this time." Time slowed. She surged upward, driving the silver blade deep into his thigh with all her strength. Gavin roared in agony, silver burned werewolf flesh like acid. The gun dropped as he clutched the wound, blood pouring. Sarah didn't stop. She kicked the pistol away, then kneed him again. But he was still an alpha, stronger, faster. His fist connected with her jaw, sending her sprawling. He loomed over her, face contorted, dagger raised for the killing blow. The wall behind him exploded inward in a shower of stone and dust. Roman's wolf form filled the breach, massive, fur matted with blood, eyes glowing with berserk fury. He saw Sarah on the floor, bleeding. Saw Toby unconscious against the wall. The roar that came from him shook the foundations of the estate. He lunged. Jaws closed around Gavin's shoulder with bone-crushing force. The former Alpha's scream cut off as he was slammed into the opposite wall, bones snapping like dry twigs. Roman shook him like a rag doll, fangs tearing flesh, blood spraying in arcs. Sarah crawled to Toby, cradling the boy's small body. "Please be okay, please." Gavin's mangled form hit the floor. Roman shifted back mid-motion, naked and covered in gore, eyes still feral. He dropped to his knees beside them. "Toby," his voice broke. The boy stirred weakly, golden eyes fluttering open. He looked at Sarah, tears streaming down his dirt-streaked face. "Mama," the word was soft, hoarse from disuse, but clear. Roman froze, tears cutting clean tracks through the blood on his face. He spoke. "He called you Mama." Sarah sobbed, pulling Toby close while reaching for Roman with her other arm. The three of them collapsed together, broken, bleeding, but alive. A family forged in fire. Outside, the sounds of battle faded. The Obsidian Pack had prevailed. Dawn broke over the Obsidian estate like a hesitant promise. Snow had fallen heavily during the night, blanketing the grounds in pristine white that hid the stains of battle. Cleanup crews worked silently, warriors hauling bodies, healers tending the wounded, engineers repairing breached walls. The air still carried the metallic tang of blood and gunpowder, but the immediate threat was over. Sarah sat in the infirmary on a raised bed, her broken leg immobilized in a cast, jaw bruised purple, lips split. Pain throbbed with every heartbeat, but it was nothing compared to the terror of seeing Toby hurt. The boy slept peacefully now in the bed beside hers, small chest rising and falling steadily, a bandage around his head. He had a mild concussion and bruised ribs, but the healer assured her he would make a full recovery. Roman had not left their side since carrying them both here hours ago. He sat in a chair between the beds, elbows on knees, head in his hands. His knuckles were split, torso wrapped in bandages from wounds already knitting thanks to Alpha healing. But the emotional wounds were raw. When Toby had spoken, called her Mama, something fundamental had shifted in all of them. Sarah reached out, touching Roman's arm gently. "Hey." He lifted his head, eyes red-rimmed from exhaustion and unshed tears. "I almost lost you both. But you didn't." She squeezed his arm. "We're here. We're safe." He moved to sit on the edge of her bed, careful not to jar her leg, and took her hand in both of his. "Gavin?" "Alive," Roman said grimly. "Barely. In the deepest cell. I stripped his Alpha status, forced submission, suppressed his wolf with silver and magic. He'll never shift again. He'll rot down there, remembering that a human woman and a child brought him down." Sarah nodded slowly. "Justice, harsh but fitting. And Red Ridge? Disbanded by Sunrise Decree. Their lands are now Obsidian territory. Innocent pack members, families, pups, elders have been offered integration here. Those who fought with Gavin," he trailed off. "Mercy had limits." Silence settled, heavy but comforting. Toby stirred in his sleep, murmuring "Mama" softly. Sarah's heart clenched with love so fierce it hurt. Roman watched the boy, then looked at Sarah. "He chose you. Before I ever did. Pup instinct is never wrong." Tears welled in her eyes. "I love him like he's my own." "I know." Roman reached into his pocket, pulling out a small velvet box. His hands shook slightly as he opened it. Inside lay a ring-black obsidian stone set in meteorite iron, flecked with silver like stars. This metal was pulled from the Iron River years ago. Fate kept it, until it could bring you to me. Sarah stared, breath-catching. You're human, he continued, voice rough. You can't mark me as a wolf mate would. The council will rage. Tradition says a Luna must be shifter. But I don't care. You fell from a cliff, survived a river, faced down alphas, saved my son, and you brought me back from the dead inside. He slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Sarah Miller, will you marry me? Be my wife, my Luna, mother to Toby and whatever children the gods grant us? Rule beside me, not behind me? Tears spilled down her cheeks. Yes. 1,000 times yes. He leaned in, kissing her gently, mindful of her injuries. When they parted, Toby was watching them with sleepy golden eyes. Daddy kissing Mama, he whispered, a shy smile breaking through. Roman laughed a broken, healing sound and gathered them both close. Weeks turned into months of recovery and rebuilding. Sarah's leg healed slowly, human bones mending without supernatural speed, but she never complained. She worked from bed at first, then with crutches, overseeing the integration of Red Ridge refugees. Her compassion became legend, finding homes for orphans, mediating disputes with fairness, teaching human ways alongside wolf traditions. Toby's voice returned fully. The trauma that had silenced him cracked open that night, and words poured out, stories, questions, laughter. He followed Sarah everywhere, calling her Mama without hesitation. Roman watched them with wonder, joining story times, pup shifts in the garden, family dinners that filled the once silent halls with life. The coronation ceremony was unprecedented. Held under the full moon in the grand courtyard, thousands gathered, obsidian pack and new members alike. Sarah wore silver gown embroidered with constellations, the obsidian ring gleaming. Roman stood proud in ceremonial black, scars bared as badges of survival. Toby stood between them, small hand in each of theirs. When the high priestess asked if any objected to a human Luna, silence reigned. No one dared. Sarah spoke vows in a clear voice, to protect, to nurture, to bridge worlds. Roman's vows were fierce, to cherish, to shield, to lead with her wisdom. They ruled together. Laws changed, humans adopted into packs, gained rights. Education blended traditions. Borders strengthened not through fear alone, but loyalty earned. Gavin lingered in his cell, a broken shell visited only by memories. Some said Sarah went once, stood outside the bars, and simply said, "You threw away a queen." Then walked away forever. Years later, tales spread of the human queen who survived the fall, tamed the beast king, and mothered a new dynasty, one built on love, not bloodlines. The transformation of Sarah Miller from a discarded, scentless human to the revered Luna Queen of the Obsidian Pack was not a sudden metamorphosis but a slow, deliberate forging in the fires of adversity, love, and responsibility. In her earliest days in the estate, Sarah had been a survivor, wary, quiet, and deeply aware of her fragility in a world of claws and fangs. She moved through the black stone halls like a ghost, speaking only when necessary, her lack of scent making her presence unsettling to the wolves around her. Yet beneath that caution lay an unyielding core of resilience, honed by years of marginalization in Red Ridge and sharpened by her near-death fall from Blackwood Cliff. Her bond with Toby became the crucible that reshaped her. From the moment the small black pup dragged her half-drowned body from the river's edge, an invisible thread had tied them together. In the beginning, Sarah approached the silent, traumatized boy with the gentle caution of someone who knew what it was to be broken. She did not push for words, instead, she offered presence. She read to him in the vast library filled with ancient tomes and dusty maps, her voice soft and steady as she traced illustrations of far-off lands and mythical creatures. She baked with him in the once-cold kitchen simple pleasures like warm chocolate chip cookies that filled the air with vanilla and laughter. Flour would dust Toby's dark hair, and Sarah would wipe it away with a tender smile, marveling at how quickly the boy began to seek her out. When nightmares racked him, visions of flames and his mother's scream, Sarah was there, holding him through the tremors, humming lullabies her own mother had sung to her long ago. She never promised the monsters would go away, instead, she taught him that monsters could be faced together. Over months, Toby's silence began to crack. First came small sound whimpers turning to giggles during garden games. Then, on that fateful night of the attack, the word "Mama" burst from him like a dam breaking. From that moment, Sarah's identity shifted irrevocably. She was no longer merely the human nanny, she was mother, protector, heart of a family. This maternal role spilled over into her queenship. Sarah became the pack's conscience. Where Roman ruled with strength and strategy, Sarah ruled with empathy. She established programs for orphan pups, wolf and human alike, drawing from her own childhood loss. She created safe spaces where traumatized children could heal, employing healers trained in both physical and emotional wounds. Her council sessions were legendary. She listened to grievances from the lowest omega to the highest beta without prejudice, her verdicts always fair, often merciful. Wolves who once sneered at her lack of wolf learned to respect the quiet power in her steady gaze. Roman Blackwood's evolution was perhaps the most dramatic. The Alpha King who had greeted Sarah's arrival with a snarl and a threat had been a man consumed by grief. For 3 years after Alara's death and the rival set fire, Roman had existed in a haze of rage and isolation. His wolf was perpetually on the edge of feral, his rule maintained through fear and unmatched brutality. The West Wing remained a forbidden tomb of memories, shattered furniture, claw marks on walls, bottles of whiskey drained in solitary nights. He had been a king, yes, but a hollow one, his heart entombed with his lost mate. Sarah's arrival began as an irritation, a human trespasser his son inexplicably chose. But her refusal to cower, her gentle handling of Toby's trauma, and especially her courage on that stormy night when she entered the West Wing uninvited, began to chip away at his walls. When she cleaned his self-inflicted wounds without judgment, whispering that he was not alone, something stirred in him long thought dead. Watching her bring light to his son's eyes awakened a fierce protectiveness and a longing he had buried. The gala forced confrontation, parading Sarah on his arm, defending her against Gavin's insults, awakened the possessive alpha in him fully. The attack shattered his remaining restraint. Nearly losing them both stripped away the last of his emotional armor. Proposing with the river-forged obsidian ring was not just a claim, it was surrender to a love greater than his pain. As husband and king beside a human Luna, Roman grew into a more balanced ruler. He still commanded with iron authority, border threats were crushed decisively, but he learned Sarah's way of strength through unity. He passed laws protecting adopted humans, encouraged interpack alliances through diplomacy rather than dominance, and became an actively present father. Evenings found him reading adventure tales to Toby in deep, rumbling tones, or teaching shifting control in the moonlit gardens. Later, when their younger children arrived, twin daughters Arya and Lyra with Sarah's warm brown eyes, and son Kai with streaks of gold in his dark hair, Roman was the father he had never had the chance to be with infant Toby. He built snow forts in winter, led family hunts under full moons, and enforced bedtime with playful growls that dissolved into laughter. Toby's own development bridged the worlds of his parents. The once mute pup grew into a confident young prince, his black wolf form massive and commanding like his father's, yet tempered by his mother's compassion. At 10, he defended a human pack mate from older wolf bullies, earning respect across ranks. By 16, he mediated disputes with wisdom that echoed Sarah's. His mate bond formed with Elora, fierce warrior from a former rival pack, symbolizing the new era of unity Sarah and Roman had built. The Obsidian pack itself underwent a profound renaissance. Once a shadowy fortress ruled by fear and isolation, it blossomed into a thriving, diverse society. The integration of Red Ridge survivors brought fresh blood artisans, farmers, warriors with new skills. Sarah's initiatives created hybrid traditions, full moon runs ending in communal feasts with human-style music and dancing, schools teaching shifting alongside literature, history, and diplomacy, healing halls blending herbal medicine with modern human techniques. Prejudices lingered at first. Older wolves grumbled about a scentless Luna weakening the bloodline. But results silenced dissent. Under Sarah and Roman's joint rule, border skirmishes decreased dramatically, enemies became allies through trade and marriage pacts. Pup births rose with stability and better care. Prosperity flowed, mines yielded richer veins, farms flourished with new methods Sarah introduced from human knowledge. The estate transformed too. Cold halls warmed with tapestries depicting both wolf legends and human stories. Gardens bloomed year-round under Sarah's care, roses climbing black stone walls, herb patches for healing. The West Wing was renovated into a family sanctuary. Elara's portrait hung beside new family paintings, memories honored rather than haunting. Sarah never gained a wolf, never shifted under the moon, but she became the undisputed heart of the pack. Statues erected in the central courtyard showed her not with fangs bared, but arms open in welcome, Toby's pup form at her feet, Roman's wolf beside her. Inscriptions read, "Strength is not only in claws, but in the courage to love." By the time silver-threaded Roman's hair and laugh lines framed Sarah's eyes, the Obsidian pack was unrecognizable from the fearful empire it had been, a beacon of progressive power where bloodlines mattered less than loyalty and heart. The era of Sarah and Roman's joint rule, later chronicled as the Silver Age, lasted over 4 decades and became the stuff of legend across shifter territories. What began as a scandal, a human Luna on the Obsidian throne, evolved into the most prosperous and peaceful period in recorded pack history. In the early years of their reign, Sarah focused on internal healing. She established the River Haven, a sanctuary for traumatized shifters and humans alike, modeled after her own journey from the Iron River's depths. Healers trained their blended ancient wolf magic with human psychology, helping countless survivors of wars, losses, and abuse. Annual festivals celebrated the river that had delivered her, spring ceremonies where pups cast flower wreaths into the current, symbolizing resilience and new beginnings. Roman, meanwhile, strengthened external alliances. Where once he would have crushed rivals, he now invited delegations. Trade routes flourished, obsidian, iron and gems exchanged for coastal fish, southern spices, western silks. Marriage alliances followed. Toby's bond with Elara from the former Shadow Claw pack sealed a century-old feud. Their daughters Arya and Lyra mated with alphas from distant territories, weaving a web of peace that spanned continents. Sarah bore 4 children in total, each a living bridge between worlds. Toby, the eldest, grew into a formidable yet compassionate leader in waiting. Arya inherited her mother's diplomacy, becoming the pack's chief ambassador. Lyra possessed Roman's strategic brilliance, commanding border forces with innovative tactics. Youngest Kai, with his golden-streaked fur, became a scholar-healer, advancing medical knowledge that saved thousands. Family life anchored them all. Summers were spent at mountain lakes, Roman teaching shifting dives, Sarah organizing picnics with stories. Winters brought grand Yule celebrations in the transformed Great Hall, once somber, now alive with music, lights, and pup races. Roman and Sarah's love remained passionate and visible, stolen kisses during council breaks, slow dances at festivals, quiet evenings on their balcony watching stars. Roman's passing came peacefully in their 60th year together. He had just returned from a successful border negotiation, silver-haired but still powerful. That night, as snow fell softly outside, he held Sarah's hand and whispered, "The river brought me my greatest treasure. I leave fulfilled." He slipped away surrounded by family, Toby's hand on his shoulder, Sarah's lips pressed to his knuckles. Grief rocked the pack, but Sarah ruled alone for another 12 years with unwavering grace. She guided Toby's ascension preparations, mentored her grandchildren, and continued reforms, establishing the first interspecies council where human-adopted pack members held voting rights. Her own passing at 92 was equally serene. Human lifespan stretched slightly by the mate bond's magic, she had lived far beyond normal years, vibrant until the end. On a spring evening beside the Iron River, the very bank where Toby had found her, she gathered her family, told stories until sunset, then simply closed her eyes with a smile. The funeral drew tens of thousands. Wolves from every allied territory came, howling a mourning song that echoed across mountains for days. Humans wept openly beside shifter kin. Sarah was laid beside Roman in a riverside mausoleum of black stone and glass, the obsidian engagement ring and her wedding band gleaming on intertwined stone hands. Toby ascended fully, ruling with his parents' blended wisdom. He commissioned statues across the realm, Sarah depicted standing tall on Blackwood Cliff, not falling, but rising with open arms welcoming all. Inscriptions varied but always included, "She fell as a woman, rose as a queen. Love stronger than blood." Chronicles spread far beyond obsidian borders. Bards sang of the river queen who tamed the beast king with kindness. Pups grew up reciting her teachings, power without heart is tyranny, heart without strength is vulnerability. True rule balances both. The pack endured and thrived for centuries under her descendants. Traditions she began, river festivals, hybrid education, inclusive laws became foundational. Even as empires rose and fell elsewhere, Obsidian remained a beacon, diverse, compassionate, unbreakable. On quiet nights, when the Iron River sang its ancient song through the pines, elders gathered pups around fires and swore they could hear laughter on the wind. Sarah's warm voice telling stories. Roman's deep rumble joining in playful growls. Toby's bright childhood giggles. A family running together through eternal forests, wolf and human, bound forever. Ever after. Don't miss a moment of this twisted love and betrayal. Click subscribe and turn on notifications to follow every shocking twist of the Alpha King and his fated mate. Your next obsession starts here.